Bender, stop lacing your pot with cocaine, bro. To you, what's the Breakfast Club about?
The Breakfast Club is about youth of all types, all social strata coming together and abolishing those lines and standing up to the man.
The man being Vice Principal Richard Vernon.
Yes, but really, it's a bit of a social parable. I found breaking down social castes, breaking down walls that exist between groups and cliques, destroying those walls, finding the commonality that exists in determining a common enemy, a common enemy.
I hope you're drinking clear coffee. I think that the beauty of the Breakfast Club and what John Hughes was going for, and look, as much as I'm going to talk about switching around the bad guys and the good guys, I'm not going to say protagonist and antagonist. It's cheesy. You switch around the good guys, the bad guys, kind of in this particular, who you're rooting for, who you're not rooting for, who's a victim, who's a jerk. Those are because there's no real antagonist, protagonist in my head. I think at the end of the day, what John Hughes was trying to do, and he nailed it. I love this movie. I'm going to talk a bunch of smack about a movie I absolutely adore. Five kids from different walks of life, and when they leave, like their whole outlook on life has been turned upside down. You're hanging out and smoking pot with a kid you probably would have beat up if you saw him in the hallway.
True. This is very true. I mean, I would have beaten up Anthony Michael Hall. I think I did beat up Michael Anthony Hall. But fun fact about Michael Anthony Hall, he got cut later in life, man.
Pretty sure it's Anthony Michael Hall.
Hall Anthony Michael, he got cut, man. He's solid. And his little role in Edward Scissorhands, he was cut.
So he went from playing the brain to playing the jock.
Yeah, he went from being him to being Emilio Estevez.
Emilio Estevez, who shouted so loud he broke a double pane glass door.
Yeah, just from being high.
Bender, stop lacing your pot with cocaine, bro. So, Will, give me your view of Richard Vernon. Do you agree that maybe in hindsight he's not the bad guy? I mean, we all remember him a certain way, right?
Well, I think anybody who deals with children on the regular is probably this close to violence. So my perspective on it as a 48-year-old coward is that I probably would have been much more aggro. I probably would have been much worse. I would have been a much worse vice principal. I think he actually, in hindsight, with a little perspective, yeah, these kids were dicks. The story's not about him. You got to put him in the position of being a dick so that these kids can go through this transformation. And then, they actually justify his dickish behavior with Carl. Yeah, Carl the janitor comes in and, talks him through why he's being a dick and what it was like to be young and all of this. And he's still like, but I'm still a dick.
He's like, they're not changing. You are. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, oh, what would the 16-year-old you think of you now? And he's like, oh, that's true. We all think the youth of America is changing when really it's just us getting older. So this is Jud Nelson's movie, basically. If you think about, if you rewatch it, and him and Bender get into a lot of confrontations, and they're not appropriate, really. And that's usually led by Bender, but certainly old Principal Dick Vernon could have done a better job on some of these occasions. Sometimes I think he did as good a job as he could have. Remember when he walked out of the door after they had that, when he yelled, "Fuck you!" And he just kept walking. He was like, you know what? I'm not going back in. I'm not doing this. I'm going to let him have the last word. But those are the things that we don't remember about Vice Principal Vernon, is that he let them have the last word a whole lot until he had just had enough.
And for Saturday detention, as somebody who's been to Saturday detention 30 years ago,
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, dude, it was
never even heard of. Was it from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Was it 9 hours?
It was, yeah. It was like it was like normal school hours. You went in 8 to it was like 7:45 to 3. And here was the rub: you couldn't do anything. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't.
Right. You just sat there.
You just sat there. It was amazing. It was great. And but I'll tell you what, man. If I had acted like Bender,
yeah, right. If you called the vice principal, Bud, take it easy, Bud. Like that's, you know what? That's detention again. That's another detention. It might even, and it borders on suspension if you call me Dick like that. Dick, even though my name's Richard. Like that's, you know what? You're out of here. Like it's strike 1, 2, and 3.
Here's the thing. I'm not an educator. I'm not a teacher. Any kid talks to me like that, like if they're 48-year-old Jud Nelson, I'm putting hands on him.
It's going to end up like this. Fuck you say? In 1984, we were at the height of Just Say No. So Bender having pot is a huge deal. That's like having cocaine now.
Not really.
No, not at all.
I don't know, man. Like 84, 85. I grew up where they grew a lot of weed. So having weed was never a question.
Like nobody in my school had weed. We were like rated the number 4 or 5 public school system in the country. So there was no pot. Like if you would have got caught with pot at our high school, you would have been expelled.
Nancy Reagan would have come and slapped you in the face.
Principal catches John. I think when he catches him, they'd had a couple arguments. He called him Bud. He called him Dick. He told him to fuck off. Like, I don't think he had any choice but to put him in some kind of solitary situation. I don't know if a broom closet is the situation we want to go with, though. There are plenty of classrooms.
Well, I do think there's a bit of a this is where things change. What he did in that situation, how that would have played out is Bender would have gone to the police, accused Vern of child abuse and maybe more. At that point, Vern may have been guilty of child abuse by locking him in a broom closet. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he isn't. I wouldn't do it. But today it would be a criminal offense. Then people looked at it and they were like, meh.
I got to tell you, ready for this? Dick makes a pretty good point. When he's talking to him in the broom closet, who are you going to tell? I'm known as a swell guy. I'm a member of the community. You're known as an asshole. No, who's going to take your word over mine? Because nobody else knew he was in the broom closet. Like the other kids didn't know he was there. He just told him he's coming with me and left. So if he goes to the cops and says he kept me in a broom closet, everyone's going to be like, what are you talking? No, I put him in a classroom because he's being an asshole. You can see his record. He's got pot. Like he smoked pot. You guys know who he is. You guys know me.
I'm Vern. I'm Dick Vernon.
Me.
Remember the community.
Good guy, Dick Vernon. Hey,
I own my own house.
I'm Penis Vernon. I make $31,000 a year. I got my own house. John then escapes from his solitary up through the ceiling roof and then falls down, potentially injuring himself, certainly doing property damage. The crease in my argument here turns in the closet. When you take off your jacket and you're like, hit me one time, just one time, hit me right here. It's like, okay, dude, relax. Based on stories of home lives, it seems to me that the principal's giving them all a day off.
Yeah.
Nobody had a good home life, right?
Brian tried to kill himself with a flare gun. Molly Ringwald was Molly Ringwald, right? Like, oh my God, my parents expect me to be so pretty because I'm so pretty. Ali Sheedy's parents ignored her. She was the Cameron character in this.
To my point, like, I don't think detention's the worst thing for these guys.
No, I mean, and obviously it paid off for him. I just feel like poor Dick was treated poorly now. Derek, you convinced me. Like, I feel bad for the guy. Like, he was just here and he was just trying to do the job. He had a guy who was in his face. He was trying to manage the situation. Would 16-year-old him like him? Probably not, because who wants to be an educator?
Lastly, here's one. Are you allowed to leave if you didn't do your essay? They did one essay.
They did do one essay.
So shouldn't they all have done an essay? Now, let me reiterate this. I freaking love The Breakfast Club. It's a great coming of age movie.
I don't think I like it anymore, Dirk.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm serious. Like, in the same way that you can deconstruct a lot of Disney movies and make me hate them because of what the message they're sending to my daughter, I don't think I like The Breakfast Club anymore as an adult.
But John Hughes is brilliant because as much as the kids changed, so did Vernon. Like his talk with Carl, his reading of that thing at the end, the essay at the end and everything. Like he's a different guy. Don't hate The Breakfast Club. Just like it in a different way.
No, hate it.
Not to mention, it's not the Breakfast Club. It's the breakfast, lunch, and dinner club.
Well, more like an early supper.
Like a soup.
Maybe tea. Maybe it's like the breakfast, lunch, and tea club.
Maybe you get a bisque.
Ooh, I could go for a bisque, like a nice
lobster
bisque.